I feel brand new and powerful.
Hello, it's KRBrickBot, and Tobot is back! No, not the trademark applied to any old young toys transforming robots of the superb space kind! The original progenitor beloved characters that started it all are back! Oh, it feels so good. It feels so good to see new versions of our old favorite characters and not just old reissues for much of the world except Korea. We haven't seen all new updates of new mainline original Tobot toys for like 7 years, since 2015. But I guess it makes it all the more special if it takes a little bit longer for them to come back. Now let's take a look at this brand new packaging. A new type of unified style for these new Tobots, like it's a primary orange color here, like a blue gradient and action lines here, the car mode here, and the pilot. Pretty minimalistic on the detail blurbs, like you would usually have a whole little more than just 36.
Exclusively for middle-aged people.
And then TV commercial and a logo. Yeah, so even though the name is in Korean and these blurbs, yeah, I mean, this packaging uses the English Tobot logo. Unlike the very first Tobot, which they use a Korean logo, I guess they didn't have this international logo at the time. I guess Young Toys, just for brand synergy, is insisting on using this logo exactly as it is with no subtitle for all the iterations. You see, this logo also totally makes sense for Tobot v Galaxy Detectives. The Galaxy Super Tobot still had the spirit of X and Y. There's Hana or Ryan, looking a bit older. As you know, cartoon kids, when they grow older, grow slightly smaller heads and eyes. And they even gave him a pilot's license on online-only promotional photos. That date issued of December 2009, I guess, was the very first time Tobot was announced ever. Oh, and there's also an official size classification of large. That also implies there's gonna be mediums and smalls. If you remember one thing about Tobots, it was the toe keys that activated them, but there is no mention of a toe key because in the show, they use a phone, like a smartphone or a toe phone. It's a really missed opportunity for Young Toys to have developed and advertised an app at the same time. Just like a little app you could download on your phone to simulate activating your Tobot. Even though this thing has no electronics, it will just be like a little soundboard. This side of the box has a nice portrait with a gradient grid and a blue gradient axe. Back of the box is pretty simple, just like an almost full body shot with the axe in the background. All the details on this bottom section here. 3 modes. This is the 3rd mode. And then Tobot X Hyundai Ioniq 5. Yeah, so this is an officially licensed Hyundai product, but it is subtly advertised because you just have Young Toys X Hyundai on the bottom and the Hyundai logo right there on the toy itself, and just right here, it's not quite as prominent as the other Korean bots that used to be Hyundai. Is it surreal that the Korean auto company that helped kickstart one of the most popular robot brands in Korea and Asia, but not quite the West, has now partnered with its older competitor? Probably, but not unheard of. It might be a little bit tricky to find the official name for this Tobot X because for all intents and purposes, like the packaging and the product listing just call him Tobot X. There's no official additional descriptor for this Tobot X, it's just Tobot X, which probably not that too much of a big issue, just not getting confused with the older Tobot X. But it might be a bit of a wordful to distinguish this Tobot X in words alone from the other Tobot X's. Like original Tobot X, Evolution Tobot X, Adventure Tobot X, what do we call this? Tobot Heroes of Data City Tobot X, but the new animated series name is never going to be on the toy packaging itself. I guess you could call it Ioniq Tobot X, just because of the auto model, which probably makes the most sense, but it's not officially on there. Also, they're never going to say Hyundai or Ioniq outright in the show, so in fiction, that's probably not going to be the official moniker. The model name on the box and in official leakings was New Tobot X. Yeah, so I guess that's as official as he gets, but then that's a really time-relative term. Now, this is new right now, but it's not going to be new in a few years' time. I guess his full name could be Tobot Heroes of Data City 2023 Hyundai Ioniq New Tobot X. I think you could just use one of those adjectives. And the interesting thing to note is that this is packaged in a dynamic angle, as in it's at a slight tilt if you see it directly from this angle. Yeah, it's not straightforward, so I guess it's a little bit of a dynamic pose right in the box. Yeah, maybe that's not much of a pose, it just kind of tilted to the side. Yeah, but this might be a good idea just to give it a little more pizzazz right in the packaging to sell it better if this was posed in a cooler pose. Depending on the toys, screwed up plastic-free closed boxes, sometimes I like to see this in full. I just like to see what I'm getting first. So for the packaging, yeah, you can see how much of the slant it goes here. Yeah, that's a slant, yeah, like the foot much lower here, and yeah, the bit at the top here, so that's kind of a dynamic display, and of course at the bottom there is a little box. Probably would be easier if I just pulled this out from the bottom. Yeah, I guess it's a little platform. There really is not much to store in here, maybe except the instructions, and then yeah, just a little stripe here with the logo there, and the international logo on both sides, and a bit of a nice glowing middle platform. Of course, we gotta start with the vehicle mode because of Tobot returning back to licensed automobiles, but with Hyundai, it was no easy feat to partner with Hyundai, apparently. I guess Hyundai wanted to promote their latest model and generations of new automobiles through Tobot. So Tobot X is now a Hyundai Ioniq 5, like their latest generation of electric vehicle. Like, I guess this particular model was released in 2022. Might be a bit of a curve to get in the other international markets. Observing some of the details of the real car that were replicated on this model. First, the wheels, like those are really nice wheels, like replicating those diamond alloyed wheels with those silver outside and these asymmetrical, like spiral propeller shaped wheels, like the spokes and hubcaps and such. Yeah, look, that's a pretty intrinsic design for these new electric vehicles. Yeah, there's a nice titanium plastic under trim. Then the doors here, like a little bit of a crease in there, which ironically is what the Hyundai Carbots did when they went de-licensed. They added more creases to them to make them not Hyundais, but then I guess in the future Hyundai just really making them more like have more of these crease models. What goes around comes around. There's a little cut rectangle for the door handle and one here for the gas cap. No, wait, this is electric, so this would be a charging port. Tiny little rectangular charging port. No, this is actually the charging port. So oh yeah, these are the rear handle doors. It's just so weirdly shaped like that because you'll see if you don't already see it right in front of you. Of course, the front is the most definitive features of a car, like bumper here, and the four headlights, like just simple white prints of rectangles, kind of simulating those LED headlights of the real thing. I mean, of course, it's gonna get quite as detailed with all those tiny little squares that make up the lights, so this is the best they could do. Tobot X license plate right there, and there's the official Hyundai logo branded right there. Like, that's a print. It's a perfectly round plastic with the logo printed on there. Coming around to the back also shows the silver trim here, like it's a custom beveled Tobot X here. Yet that's not printed. But these LED headlights are, and an extra square for a license plate, and the printed Hyundai logo, and a super smooth top except for the necessary transformational creases. Yeah, there's a lot more transformational creases on top of here, but I guess it's not much of a big deal. If you had to complain, you'll object, why isn't Tobot X orange? Yeah, I guess because, you know, this particular color, I guess they wanted to sell this particular color of the Ioniq 5 because the Ioniq 5 doesn't exist in orange. It exists in Gravity Gold, which this beige plastic is closest to simulating. A more yellowish beige than this beige. And I guess if they insisted, they could have come up with like a custom metallic orange color, like something like exotic, like a ochre orange. I just made that up, but that's likely. The Ioniq is like a new series of cars, so it doesn't exactly have a long lineage of generations that goes all the way back to the 70s and 80s, but it is stated it is an homage to the original first Hyundai Pony. This is not a Hyundai Pony, this is just a very close unlicensed approximation, but it very much looks like a Hyundai pony. Yeah, I guess it generally replicates the curvature styles. I mean, I guess to the trained, engineered auto designer eyes, it does really carry the spirit of the design. Okay, we gotta talk about this if you haven't noticed already. This is not a true scale model of a Hyundai Ioniq 5. This is very much a squished, cheapified approximation. Like, compare this. And this, I mean, this has always been the style of Tobot, just kind of really squishing the real cars. And embiggening the wheels, enlarging the wheels. Those are some bigger wheels, and especially differently sized wheels, like the smaller wheels in the front and the bigger wheels in the back. I mean, that's a very much a stylization. Yeah, so you just might be okay with it if you don't really care about the cars, but if you were looking for model cars, then yeah, this is probably not it, because this is more of a kid's toy. That just evokes the car, but I guess it has its charm being a stylistic style of the Tobot that's always been there from the beginning. But we could try to find the approximate scale of this squished car. So I mean, the width of the car looks just about the same as the real one, so if we measure that and find the dimension of the width to the real one in metric in millimeters, and then divide that by the toy's actual width of 85 millimeters, that's about 1/22 scale. If we consider the squished length of the car to be the entire length of the whole car, it would be about 1/29 scale. But if we want to extend the length of this car so that it is more accurate, then we take Tobot X's length of 105 millimeters and scale it up to 3,410 millimeters and subtract that from the car's real length to find Tobot X would need to be 55 millimeters or 1,225 millimeters in real life longer to be a true scale model. Maths. For now, this is the first and only toy representation of the Hyundai Ioniq 5 right now. I guess the real scale models are just coming soon, and a rideable kid's car. Time for transformation! Yeah, so yeah, these are doors, there are double hinges here, that naturally extends, no friction there, so that just goes 180 there. Yeah, I guess you can spread those legs out, fold that out all the way here. Yeah, feet out from the back, just flip them around, and those heels will naturally come along. Yeah, I guess, yeah, natural clicking in place. Arms out, fist out, chest down, and then fold that in, and it could be easily overlooked. Yeah, but this does turn around, nice spring-loaded hinge there, yeah, and then just two-click 180 and then clip it in there. Very classic and easy Tobot transformation. There's our beloved Tobot X, his very iconic stylings with the X crotch and the X-shaped head and of course the orange. I think this is a much richer orange than any of his previous Tobot toys. It's hard to say if there's been a aesthetic change, a more of a future age aesthetic and style, because it is relatively simplistic greebling. There's some good greebling and paneling to make the shapes more dynamic, or if a toy designer has his own personal stylings or signature elements they like to include, this Tobot X. The designer who designed this Tobot X also designed Big Boss and a few other Tobot Bs. But I think it does have a good combination of some of the older car to robot aesthetics besides the obvious axes. For instance, mostly, the chest and the entire back of the car forming the lower legs really does evoke that original 2010 Kia Soul Tobot X. As with the shoulders, I guess, yeah, the original one had these downward. So it is similar to that, but it just to clean it up so that the arms can stand out more. Also, yeah, very nice details here, on the inside of this is a extra armor plating, there's an axe right there, and arrows up and down. Little bit of stylistic hollowness there. Yeah, I guess it's an extra outward armor that's revealed. The squareness of this panel may make or break the design flow, maybe the curvature flow or square aesthetic flow, whatever that means, as I'm saying. Of course, the front end evokes the original Tobot X, but it's a bit more streamlined since much of the bulk goes to the arms. while this is pretty small and compact with a 15-degree crease. And I guess the axe-shaped head now with the addition of blue optics, which is actually a pretty nice style. I mean, I think it's a good idea to update the Tobots with more characterful eyes, just like the Athlons. Yeah, but I guess it is more relatively squarey more than the roundish shape of the original axe, or I guess the big chin chiselness of the Avenger X. So I think this head, while doing its own thing, I guess with the longer head and the white stripe, it does evoke more of the Evolution axe the most, in my opinion. And speaking of head, all of these new Tobots have a brand new feature. Yeah, panel down and you can take his head off. I guess they're headmasters now. Yeah, so just flip this up, there's a little pin here, turn that around, and you get a little android cute face and little arms. So this is Tobot X's Koroid mode. Yeah, just a simple little white android with movable legs and pretty simplistic, with a axe-shaped torso and a hexagonal core. Yeah, I guess the Tobot's mind core goes in there. It does kind of look like it's just like a plain white suit with wearing an axe-shaped vest. Yeah, but this is very much a cute little adorable innovation addition, like also playing into the Tobot's cuteness appeal. Their little faces simulating LED lights with simple expressions. They don't actually have like synced mouth movements. It is a good realistic way to show expression. Traditional Transformer faces are good for expressions, but that's not very realistic. But why do the Tobot's heads come off into Koroids? Well, you might guess it's like an emergency eject in battle. But in the show, it is shown more of a practical reason that the Tobot's cores, they can get up and walk around while their bodies are being maintained and repaired, so they can have some downtime with their pilots, and also interact with them on a personal level, and they can easily follow them around the house if needed. It probably would be very convenient if the Tobot's entire bodies could shrink down into tiny little toys that they could carry in their hands. But that's not very realistic at all! We should know that Tobot X's head is actually kind of a bit smaller in the animation. Either that or the toy is slightly too big. I don't know, but I guess I like the toy's head proportions more than this. But and also because in the show, they're not actually gonna advertise Hyundai, so they have their own like Tobot logo in place of that logo. Articulation. The head is on a full swivel. Yeah, the soft ratchets, these are like the pulling spring ratchets at just exactly 45 degrees. I mean, would have been nice if it could have more increments. Like the shoulders, like that go inward that much and outward that much, and then the transformational shoulder outward that much. So it's one of those trigger-happy hot rod combined the words Hotspot, GX's Torrent, Studio Series, Rise of V's, authored prize, and any other recent Transformer toys that the Transformer find defines them on because they really like attaching parts to proper names, so that will confuse anyone who doesn't know the toy shoulders. Or just pivot in torso shoulders. Sorry, I just found that really funny. Yeah, I know that kind of shoulder is annoying because that goes right level to the head. I mean, it wouldn't be a problem if they were double jointed, but it only goes this far, so it's still effectively those kind of shoulders. A soft ratchet bend at 90 degrees and wrist inward, and of course no bicep swivels. I guess partially because it has this much of a thin upper bicep, because it needs that clearance for the car mode. Legs can go forward that much, the skirt gets in the way, and back that much if you get this pretty shelly back of the car. I mean, this lower area here just kind of gets in the way. I mean, this is pretty clean, but yeah, if you get that out of the way, you can do it almost, yeah, exactly 90 back. Nice ratchety splits. You could force it more than 90, but not recommended. Yeah, an obtuse knee there, but it's a transformational double joint, so you can do that at least. Which also goes the other way for transformation, and also this upper knee, it's a double two-way knee. Also notice that how this is a spring-loaded part, so yeah, that automatically springs in to cover the gear here. And it also reminds me of the first Tobot X's toys, like giant shin sliding covers, but these function much better. And the transformational toe down. As you saw, Tobot X's articulation is unfortunately very basic. Yeah, I mean, it would be fine if they either had thigh and or bicep swivels, but it has neither, so it's can only do it pretty straightforward, and yeah, I guess you can chalk that up to the parts count. I mean, yeah, I was always assuming when Korean bots have no upper articulation, or if they can have them, it's because of the necessary engineering or because of the parts count. So I guess the parts count went into the back or the sides or here. I mean, I'm not gonna go out and count exactly how many parts, but yeah, but I guess because of that, it just is very basically articulated. Poor Tobot X has never known any thigh swivels for 13 years. This new Tobot X toy is just okay. I mean, it does its job of representing the Ioniq 5, and I guess it's a pretty good aesthetically pleasing update of the old beloved character. But the basic bicep and thighless articulation might be a bit of a big letdown. Of course, I would recommend this if you're a Tobot fan, but to the collectors who just like the Tobot toys, yeah, just the toys and not the show or the characters, this is probably not going to be a high priority thing, because if you're not attached to Tobot X, it's just a very basic robot with a very basic car mode. And maybe it could do better. If you do care about the cars, then the squishification might be a turnoff, or you might be okay with the stylization. And I guess if you really wanted a representation of a Ioniq 5 as a Transformer robot toy, then yeah, this is it. Yeah, this is all that there is. Don't worry too much about the new Tobot toys, it only gets better from here.